The rules to survive a day in my home. Hello, I am 16 years old and pretty much just like any normal teenager. I have friends, I play sports, and I go to school. The only strange thing about my life is my home. It all started when my dad got fired from his job back in Georgia, and we had to move across the country to Montana. Yes, this was a big change, and it was hard to fit in at my new school. In the end, I did though, and it is not important to the story. I still remember looking back at my old house as we packed the last item in the car and started our long drive to northern Montana. I could not look back too long as I had a new life ahead of me. We split the 32-hour drive into 2 days. Nothing went out of the ordinary except for the few bad drivers that you get every road trip. After 32 hours, we were finally at my new home. I grabbed my suitcase, my mom grabbed her purse and her large key ring with too many keys on it, and my dad grabbed his belongings. We all stopped in front of the dark green lawn specked with wildflowers and admired our new home. "Let's go look around," my mom cheerfully said. We all walked to the front door. As my mom struggled to find the right key, I looked around at the landscape. I saw chirping birds in the sky, vast grasslands, and a beautiful mountain in the background. I thought that this might not be too bad of a change after all. Click, I got it. As the door squeaked open, we all took our first steps inside. The hardwood floor squeaked as we all put pressure on its old foundation. Light flooded the living area through the 3 large windows directly in front of us. The kitchen was to our left and our bedrooms were to our right. Right in the middle of the windows was a fireplace. It really looked like a comfy home. We moved everything in with ease and enjoyed the summer breeze. After moving furniture and our belongings all day, we settled in for our first night in our new home. The first night was peaceful. This was a year ago. You may be asking then, when do these creepy rules take place if this house is peaceful? How did you find out? The house began to become more strange over the first week. I just chalked it up to be normal house sounds and seeing things. It did get more intense as the weeks progressed, and no, the previous owner did not give us a creepy note, or a neighbor did not have a chat with us. We were on our own. As the week progressed, I started seeing dark figures and hearing distant screams and footsteps. It was very creepy. Day 8 was when I figured out the first rule. If there are footsteps outside your room or knocking on your door, do not open the door. You also may be thinking, what if it's your parents? We have a code system. I will not be saying the codes on here because if one of the spirits figures out one of our codes, may God have mercy on my soul. It was the night of my 8th day in our home. I was laying in bed on my phone when I heard very heavy footsteps stop at my door. "Dad," I called out. Then knock, knock, knock. I checked the time. It was 1 a.m. My parents are usually asleep. I shuffled out of the warm embrace of my bed with a sigh and tiptoed to the door. When I was there, I heard the knocking again. Knock, knock, knock. I pressed my ear against the door and listened. I heard very muffled and crackly breathing across the door. Should I open it? I thought I put my hand on the lock and turned it. Click! And I cracked open the door. Right when I saw what was on the other side, I slammed it shut and locked the door as fast as I could. After that, the entity started to pound against my door. Boom, boom, boom. I heard my parents' door open and one thing run away and 2 more running toward my door. Before I go on, let me explain what this entity is and what it looks like. He is the reason why we cannot have fun during night. I do not really know what he is or what his name is, but I call him Boom. I call him that because of the sound he makes when he pounds against your door. I have only seen him once, and let's just say I do not want to see him again. If I do, well, you know. What I saw was a humanoid figure only about 6 feet tall. He has a torn-up suit stained with blood and black shoes. Very formal attire, but his face, let's just say it's very unproportional. He has very big eyes with a red iris, a very small gray nose, and a large mouth. When my parents reached my door, I did not want to open it, but in the end I did. I let them inside and locked the door and told them everything. The screams and the noises, and now this. They believed me because they have been hearing the screams and footsteps too. I was relieved. At least I knew that I was not insane. That morning we got our first code word. This one is retired, so I can tell you it. Boom has been catching along and is starting to figure out some of our codes. The first one was Georgia. I will write more tomorrow. I have to follow one of the rules that I will cover in the future. After the incident on day 8, we followed rule 1 strictly. The night of day 9 in the house was the night rule. was fully taken into place. I stressed to my parents to follow this rule. They obliged, and we all went to our bedrooms and we locked our doors. I walked to my bed, hopped on, covered myself with my blanket, plugged in my phone, turned off the light, and drifted off to sleep. I'm sure y'all saw this coming, but I was awakened around 2 a.m. to heavy footsteps. I knew what to do, and I was not afraid. Just do not open the door. The footsteps stopped in front of my door. As I stared at the door, I hear knock, knock, knock. A chill ran up my spine. A deep primal instinct told me to run as fast and as far away as I could, but I knew I had to stay put and let Boom go away. Knock, knock, knock. After those last 3 knocks, I hear a low cackle and heavy footsteps fading away. The fun was not over, though. Just to make sure Boom was gone, I left my bed and tiptoed across the noisy wooden floor to the door. I pressed my ear against the door and listened intently. Down the hall, I heard a very faint knock. Knock, knock. Boom was at my parents' room. I ran to my phone as fast as I could and sent my mom and my dad a text. Boom is at your door. Do not open the door. To my horror, I heard a doorknob turn and the squeak of a door. I heard a scream of terror from down the hall and the door slammed shut. At least they closed the door. I thought I could hear my mom's sobs and my dad confronting Boom from the safety of his room. Boom let out a disturbing multi-pitched laugh. Soon the laugh, the screaming, and the sobbing stopped. I did not go to sleep that night. The house was silent. I needed to know if my parents were okay. After no word from my parents all night, I decided that when the sun came out, I would venture to their room. It was only down the hall. Once I saw the sun shine through my window, I stood up, rested my hand on the cold brass doorknob, and turned the lock. Click. As I slowly opened the door, a squeak filled the house. I peeked my head around the corner. All I saw was an empty hallway. I leaped out into the hallway and ran to my parents' door. I called out to my parents. Georgia, let me in, Georgia. Click. I dived into their room. I saw my mom huddled against the corner, still shaking. My dad was by the door. Dad. I whispered, I don't know what she saw. She won't tell me. My dad said while looking at her, I'll go talk to her. I said I slowly stepped toward her and sat down next to her. I rested my hand on her shoulder and said, you can talk to me about what you saw. Was it Boom? She raised her head and slowly turned toward me. Her eyes were bloodshot and dried tears marked her cheeks. I saw dried blood on her forearm. Mom, what happened to your arm? He almost got in. I had to close the door. My dad ran over and looked at her arm. Let's go. Patch that up. Is the coast clear, Luke? My dad said it's all clear. They got up and went to the bathroom. My mom still does not like to talk about that night. To this day, Rule 2 is also a life or death rule. A few days after my parents' experience with Rule 1, I had my experience with Rule 2. I was home alone. My parents were at work and I was home due to summer vacation. I thought I was safe during the day, so I was relaxing in front of the TV in the living area. The commercials started and I muted the TV. I grabbed my phone and started playing a game. While in the midst of my game, I started to hear a faint calliope in the distance. I just assumed it was the game I was playing and continued to strive for first place. The music got louder and louder. I knew it was not my phone now. The calliope was so loud I half expected a clown to jump out of the shadows. Well, I was not wrong. I looked up from my phone and looked toward the windows. I saw a clown staring at me through the windows. You see, Boom freaked me out, but clowns? I hate clowns. Right when I saw his red nose, I leaped from the couch and ran as fast as I could to my bedroom. I dove into my room, slammed the door, and locked it. If I stayed out there, what would the clown have done? Was he dangerous? Was he a friend? I did not want to take the chance of staying. The clown was your normal-looking clown, only with a huge mouth and the occasional weapon at his side. I did not give him a name. He does not deserve one. As I sat in my room, I learned Rule 2. If you hear any music that you do not know the origin of, run to the nearest room that has a lock. Of course, when my parents got home, I told them about the clown. After witnessing Boom, they believed me. To this day, I have been the only one that has seen the clown. They have never had any encounters with him. I hope it stays that way. The sun is starting to set. It's time to head to my room. I will post about Rule 3 tomorrow. Rule 3 is a special rule. It is one of the more rare rules on my humble list, but it might well be the most terrifying one on here. I still remember the exact night I first encountered it, the night of June 3, 2018. It was the usual night I was playing on the family computer in the living area by the kitchen. I looked at the little clock display on the bottom right corner of the bright screen. 7:00 p.m. dinner must almost be ready. I looked toward the kitchen and witnessed my mom cooking dinner for us. I could smell the array of spices, herbs, meats, and such. My mom turned on her little kitchen radio. "Hello, Montana. This is 1019. Enjoy our next tune." The smooth sound of a trumpet and tenor saxophone duet filled the home with the subtle humming of my mom. The sizzling from the grill complementing the beat, I looked back at the computer and clicked on a video to enjoy. Knock, knock, knock. My mom jumped a bit, but was relieved when my dad shouted, "It's me," through the door. I was a little relieved too. My mom walked out of the kitchen, smiled at me, and opened the door. My dad's smiling face appeared from the other side with some root beers in one hand and a bundle of chrysanthemums. My mom smiled and grasped the flowers. "They're beautiful." She said she grabbed Grandma's old vase and gently placed them in there. The orange petals complemented the dark cracked vase. A ding from the oven interrupted the sweet duet. "Dinner must be ready," my mom shouted while turning the alarm off. I turned the computer off and joined my family at the table. I shoved my fork into a piece of chicken and looked up at my parents. My dad was already done with his chicken and moved on to the green beans. My mom just stared at her plate. "Are you okay, Mom?" "Yes, sweetie, I'm okay," she said while slouching ever so more in her chair. The usual glow in her eyes were gone. Not even a minute later, my dad screams, "I'm done," and gets up to wash his plate. Not soon after I finished, too. I got up with my empty plate. Right before I began to wash my dish, I looked back at my mom. Not even a single bite yet. I frowned and turned on the sink. "Hey, bud, how about after you wash that plate, you grab a root beer and go to your room?" my dad whispered. I nodded with a pathetic smile. I looked back at the plate, put it in the sink, grabbed a root beer, and headed off to my room. Just before I entered the infamous hallway, I looked back at my mom. She was sobbing, tears flowing down her cheeks and falling right onto the seasoned grilled chicken she cooked. I entered my room and stumbled on my bed. I turned on my phone and began to watch videos. At 9:00 p.m., I heard the footsteps of two people walking down the hall. They soon reached the end of the hall, opened a door and closed it. My parents are going to bed. It was about time for me too. I shut off my phone and plugged it into my charger. I turned to my lamp and tugged onto the little rope to shut it off. I laid my head back onto my pillow and thought about my mom as I drifted off to sleep. That night, I woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of tip, tip, tip. In my groggy state, I grabbed my phone and checked the time. 3:09 a.m. Ugh, I need water. As I looked at my nightstand to see if I had any water bottles, I caught a glimpse of something in the corner of my room. A chill immediately went up my spine and I was taken out of my groggy state. With a shaky hand, I slowly grasped the rope on the lamp and flicked it on. Click at what I saw. Oh, what I saw. It was a creature at least 7 feet tall. It had no clothes on. It was covered with gray, wrinkly skin. It had a huge head attached to its lanky body, with an enormous mouth laced with sharp teeth as well as mouth locked in a huge toothy grin. It had no eyes or a nose. The worst part was the position it stands and walks in. I want you to think of a children's cartoon character, tiptoeing the classic position with their knees bent and its arms out bending forward. It was standing just like that. I froze right when the light shone on this horrific creature. It started to slowly tiptoe toward me. Tip, tip, tip. With each step, its grin grew wider and wider. The more teeth got exposed, and the faster it started tiptoeing. I was brought out of my trance by the fourth step. I leaped out of my bed. I looked at the door. Within a split second, I thought, boom. I had to take the risk. Leave and risk being caught by boom or die from it. I unlocked the door and opened it. To my luck, boom was not there. I ran down the hall. I looked behind me, and it was on my tail. I screamed. Mom, Dad, open the door. Please help Georgia. Georgia. Right before I was at the door, I heard a click. The door was open, and I leaped in there. My mom slammed the door shut and locked the door. The light in their room shut off. Everything went quiet. I could hear a tip, tip, tip nearing from down the hall. With each tip, you could hear the most slight creak, echo from the old hardwood floor. It stopped in front of my parents' door. My mom's bloodshot eyes stared at me in shock. "What the hell is that?" she mouthed at me. I shook my head and mouthed, "Wait." The lamp turned back on, and we heard tip, tip, tip down the opposite end of the hall. "What the hell was that, Luke?" My mom whispered it. "It was the tip-toer," I stuttered. In that moment, Rule 3 was added onto my humble little list. If the tip-toer appears in your room at night, run Rule 3 as a rare encounter. But if it needs to be followed, may God be on your side.
Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, drop a comment below. And please like, share and subscribe my channel.